Hey guys, welcome into this segment from our full-length The Onside Kick podcast. In order to get the full podcast, go down to the description, go to Blog Talk Radio / The Onside Kick to download the full thing. Enjoy, everybody. But Mark, we got to move on into our last topic, and this one's going to I kind of mentioned a little bit, didn't want to get too far into it, but now we are the Houston Texans. They've got a situation of who is going to be their quarterback for this year. Tony Romo's not on the board. They have some free agent options. They have some draft options. Because we titled this after the draft, I want to focus on the draft, then maybe at the end talk a little bit about some of the free agent options that they may have in order to be the quarterback for them this year. But I'm going to throw it out to you. If you're the Texans, are you now taking a quarterback in the first round? And if so, who do you think is going to be that quarterback that they take in the first round?
You know, if I'm the first team to draft a quarterback, I might do it. I might. If I have my choice of whoever I want, I might go for it. Who? I don't believe in Trubisky. I don't, because I think he needs experience. He's probably going to be with the Jets. And if the Jets draft him, that ruins my whole thing of saying you probably shouldn't. But Deshaun Watson, I don't necessarily know that he fits here, but I think he's the best option for Houston. Unfortunately for the Houston Texans, there honestly is not a good answer for them. If it's going to be through the draft, I like Mahomes. Mahomes is probably my favorite guy in the draft, but not because I think he's the number one quarterback in the draft. I just don't really believe that much in the other guys. They have certain flaws that I'm really not a big fan of. Mahomes is a project.
Well, and one of the guys that I know you're going to be doing your Phil breakdown for before we get into the draft at the end of this month. We got to get that going. But Deshaun Kaiser. Yeah. Because you mentioned Mahomes. Usually Kaiser has been above Mahomes for all this time.
But you know the weird
flipping
thing
now for you?
For me, no, not necessarily. But Mahomes, I think, has a lot of upside. Where Kaiser, I think people feel like they know what they're getting out of him a little bit more. And it's weird where I was thinking about this the other day, actually, where Mahomes is the guy who everybody talks about. He's the next guy. Yeah. But people will slot Kaiser above him. They're just not talking about him, which I think is very interesting. He's kind of being forgotten about. I really don't know that there's a good answer at quarterback for Houston. If they can get Watson, I don't think that's bad. If they can get Deshaun Watson, I think that's actually kind of good, and I would like to see it because I think it'd be the best option for them available through the draft. But with that being said, you guys all know how we feel about the quarterbacks in this draft. We're not big fans.
Well, and the thing that I actually had to look it up to see exactly, the big thing that both on that Kiper-McShay dueling mock draft that I talked about, guess who Mel Kiper had the Cardinals go with in the first round?
Trubisky.
No, that's who McShay had him go with. Kiper had him go with Mahomes.
Interesting.
At number 13, he had them go.
That's
with Mahomes.
That's quite the grab. But I mean, I guess Carson Palmer's there, so you don't need him to play right now.
And the thing is, both of these guys, maybe it's because most of the quarterbacks were already taken. The only one that was on the board for, I want to say both of them, but Kiper had him going to the Chiefs after him. McShay still had Mahomes on the board. He ended up going last pick to the Saints, and then the Chiefs for Kiper took Deshaun Kaiser. I think if I'm the Texans, I have to take a quarterback. One of the four, Mitchell, Deshaun, Patrick Mahomes, or Deshaun Kaiser. One of these four is going to be wearing a Texan uniform unless they all go before the Texans.
Well, the problem for Houston right now is they can't. Brock Osweiler's not there. So that's not an issue anymore. But after the failure that was Brock Osweiler, they have to be so extremely careful about who they trot onto the field. You can't put Savage out there and just expect the fans to go crazy about it. You can't throw Jay Cutler out there, even though I think he's probably the best free agent option they have. You can't throw Jay Cutler out there and have fans be optimistic. They kind of know what they got out of him. And after seeing a failure in Brock Osweiler, they don't want to take a risk on a Jay Cutler or a Colin Kaepernick. They don't want to take those risks.
They did that already. They gave a ton of money to Brock Osweiler. Well, that was
You're not going to give anywhere near the same amount of money, but
yeah, but that was even without even wasn't. They didn't even meet the guy. They didn't even meet.
Apparently, I don't think that's really that big of a deal.
And they just gave him a contract.
I mean, they saw game tape. Did they really need to talk to him?
I kind of think so.
Think about job interviews that you've been on, Ricky. Were you being honest? Or were you just telling them what you want them to hear?
It's one of those things where you're on there to tell them what they want to hear, but it's still one of those things where
I don't think
as an employer, I would at least want to sit down with you to kind of, it's asking you questions isn't necessarily about what you're saying. It's how you say it. It's how you carry yourself. Sure. It's all the little things within there. What you actually say, unless you're really going to say, like, well, you know what, I'm blah, 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 and you're saying you're committing all these crimes, unless you're saying that, it really doesn't matter as long as you're saying
what's the first thing you're going to do when you get your paycheck? Cocaine. But no, I think...
Got to get that Coke.
Right? I just think for that, I mean, people like to cite that a lot, but I just think, you watch this game tape, you're paying him to play football. The problem was that he wasn't that good at football, apparently. So you might want to ask some questions to your scouts in that case. But I think change of scenery will be beneficial for Brock Osweiler. I do think he gets a chance in Cleveland. But anyways,
I just don't think with the rookies. It might come down to a situation where Houston, at the very least, is sitting there going, well, shit, 3 of the 4 are gone.
I don't think 3 of the 4 will be gone. No, I can't imagine that.
Well, I'm saying that's a situation like the Jets took somebody, Deshaun Watson went somewhere else, and then the Cardinals said, fuck it, we're surprising everybody. And that's like a worst-case situation. I think what's going to happen is take Trubisky and Watson out of it, and at 25, they're going to sit down and have to go, if we're going quarterback, do we feel strong about Kaiser? Do we feel strong about Mahomes? And either make a pick on one of them or something else. They
have to do something. Like I said, fans are not going to feel comfortable probably with Jay Cutler or with or Kaepernick. They might be okay with a Jay Cutler if you already drafted a quarterback. The fans need something to feel good about, to feel optimistic about, and that's the thing about drafting a quarterback. And that's why one of the reasons why I don't think there's a good quarterback here for them to take at 25. But I think that their hand is going to kind of be forced. They have to do something. We've seen this years ago with teams in the first round taking quarterbacks because they feel like they had to. Christian Ponder, Ricky. I just want to mention his name.
No, that was exactly it. Because we wanted Jake Locker, and the Titans took him, and then we panicked.
Good thing you didn't have Jake Locker either, though. So it's just one of those things where I think the hand is going to be forced, and the Houston Texans are going to have to draft a quarterback because they have to put somebody out there. You can't go ahead and just hope for the best with what you have because you don't have anything right now. You got to give the fans something to be excited about.
And I mean, I'm looking at the quarterbacks right now, and if you're not going to go first round, it's one of those things of we're going to leave the free agents out of it because I think we're both in agreement that it's Jay Cutler or nobody for the free agent market.
And if you do that, you really need to get a young quarterback in there too.
I'm going to ask you this. If you're the Houston Texans, would you feel more optimistic about taking either a Mahomes or a Kaiser with your first round pick, or waiting till the second round and maybe choosing between Nathan Peterman, Brad Kaya, Davis Webb, a guy who got huge amounts of hype after the, I want to say it was the Senior Bowl, and then the last one I'll throw out there, I don't know if he's on the table anymore because his pro day he had that wrist issue, but Chad Kelly, or as Sean calls him, Cad Kelly.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants really anything to do with Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly's got a list of issues, but I think that if I'm the Houston Texans, I got to go in the first round because you got to think about the other teams that are going to be there. Cleveland, if they haven't picked a quarterback in the first round, they're going to do it in the second round. Same thing with Chicago, same thing with San Francisco. any of the other teams, if the Jets somehow didn't pick one, they're going to do it. The Arizona Cardinals, if they didn't pick it in the first round, there's a good chance they're going to do it in the second round. All these teams who are going to pick before you are going to be wanting to take that quarterback, getting that legacy quarterback or someone to put in the wings just in case. You have to do something. And you can hope for a Russell Wilson. You can hope for a Tom Brady. You can hope for one of these late-round picks or mid-round picks and just hope for the best, but you're not gonna be that lucky, unfortunately.
And Kuiper has them going 57th as their next pick. That's their second round pick. He has them going with Nathan Peterman. So he has them going with that quarterback.
I just can't imagine your fans getting excited about that.
I don't know if Nathan Peterman though is even there because I'm just looking at who they have in the 2 rounds. For the Browns, McShay has Kaiser. Kuiper has Joe Mixon to the Browns. To the 49ers, they have both of them have the same Obi Melifonwu out of UConn, the safety / defensive back. I mean, the Bears, they've got them going both with a cornerback in the second round. The Chargers, they both go Zay Jones in the second. I know that McShay had them going with a quarterback. I want to say it was Deshaun Watson in the first round. Jets, they both had them go quarterback in the first round. And then, the Cardinals, both of them had them go quarterback in the first round, but they even have a pick before you in the second round. So it's one of those things where there could be, and we don't know if there's any other teams in between that take a quarterback just because, the Redskins could take one in the second round to shock us because they're like, oh, Kirk could be leaving. There could be the Vikings could take one to shock us because they think that Teddy's not going to play and that they're not going to re-sign Sam Bradford at the end of the year.
Yeah.
There are, after you get after round 1, it's kind of an open book for what teams may do and who's on their board and where they're ranked and what the order does. And, that Viking pick is going to be their first pick in the draft. I don't think they go quarterback with that first pick, but they could. They could say, hey, we got to assess this because Sam Bradford, we don't know what's going to happen with free agency. We don't know what's going to happen with Teddy. I hope those questions kind of get answered as we get to the draft. Like I said, 48th pick, I don't think we're going quarterback, but it's one of those things where anything can happen to where I agree with you. If you're the Texans, take one in the first round. Then at least you'll have the kind of your own pick between, well, do we go Mahomes or do we go Kaiser? You'll actually have that pick, and I kind of feel like going with a guy like Mahomes, you might be able to spin it right because Texas Tech guy staying home to play his pro ball. Well, staying where he played college to play his pro ball.
For sure, but it could be the kind of thing where, if the Chicago Bears take, whoever's the quarterback of Illinois State, it doesn't really do much for you, just because he's from there. Illinois State and Texas Tech are not the same kind of team. I'm just saying Texas for a lesser team.
Mahomes is a quality quarterback.
Yeah.
Where, it would be, let's say, the Bears drafting Wes Lunt, who went to Illinois, that, to me, might be a 7th rounder if he gets picked, if he gets drafted.
Taking it just because the state school, well, Texas Tech's not a state school, but
I would still pick him over Kaiser.
School in the state, I don't know, but for the excitement standpoint, I just don't know. If the Houston Texans, the big thing too is we're talking about, what would be the best option. They might be sitting there going, I don't want either one of these guys. I know that Deshaun Watson, I know Kaiser, or Trubisky, whoever, I know these guys aren't going to be on the board. I don't want these next guys available. And then they're really kind of screwed because then they have to go for someone late who they feel confident about. Then they have to go grab Kaepernick or they have to grab Cutler. They are really forced to do something that they're probably not going to be that comfortable doing.
Let me ask you this. Could we see a situation where the Texans go, you know what, fuck it. We're not going to go quarterback. We're not going to sign a Jay Cutler. We're not going to sign a Colin Kaepernick. 4th, 5th round, whatever quarterback's there, we'll draft him, and him and Brandon Weeden can fight it out for the backup. Tom Savage is our starter this year, and we'll adjust the quarterback situation next year in what could be the draft of the quarterback. Everyone's talking about Baker Mayfield. Everyone's talking about Mason Rudolph. Everyone's talking about Josh Rosen, Jake Browning could come out. We have Sam Darnold could come out.
It's a lot to hang your hat on, though, unfortunately. Hanging a hat on your quarterback class next year is a way that a coach or GM loses a job. And I think that's dangerous.
It would be the complete opposite of what they did last year. Where
They would.
They kind of Bill O'Brien. They brought in a quarterback that wasn't necessarily Bill O'Brien's guy.
It does potentially also show that the team has no fucking clue what they're doing. Of saying you paid for one guy, then you didn't do anything. What is your answer? And something else that I think is worthwhile is, you know who's still available and you could trade for? It's A.J. McCarron.
You could.
I like A.J. McCarron. I don't think he's amazing, but I like him. Is he an upgrade over Todd Savage? I would say yes. Not a huge upgrade, but a little bit.
Let me ask you this. If you're Bill O'Brien, are you tempted to say, if the Jets draft Mitchell Trubisky, are you tempted to pick up that phone and say, what do you want for Hackenberg?
No.
Because I worked with Hackenberg in college. I can work with him in the pros. No. I'm not saying they would do that, but that's a connection that if you're looking for a guy that Bill O'Brien can work with, he's worked with him in college.
I think he's got to know his limits on that case, and I think Hackenberg's got a lot of limits.
And he's got it. Well, taking those limits, could know what to do with the offense and how to put him into a Bill O'Brien offense.
Sure, but I think in the NFL, there's a lot of limits on that kid. That kid is not anything more than a backup.
Well, and plus it's one of those things where that's the big thing for me is that kind of connection between them. But I'm going to ask you this. This is the last question we'll talk about with this. Is it an option to say, okay, Bill O'Brien, we're going to stick with Tom Savage? We're sticking with Savage for this year.
It is an option. And I think that the kid at least deserves a chance to compete for sure. It's an option to just go with him. I don't think that the Houston Texans can walk if any situation, no matter what they do at this point forward, with the exception of Tony Romo going, oh yeah, sorry CBS, I'm going to Houston. With that being the only exception, I don't think Houston has the right to say, this guy's our quarterback. You've already shown that you don't know how to do that. So no matter what, it is an open competition. You can get Tim Tebow in there and have an open competition. You know, I saw him hit a good home run today, so why not?
He did his first at bat in
Single
Class
A. Single A. So, you know, I just think that no matter what, they have to have the competition. I don't think they can walk in and say Todd Savage is our quarterback. But
for this year.
But I think that I don't think they can do that for this year either.
Okay.
But I do think that they can say Tob Savage.
Tob Savage.
Tob Savage.
Hashtag Tob Savage.
That's his name now. Tob Savage has won the job. He's our quarterback going forward. I think you can do that. Very subtle of a difference. You can't
Instead of naming him, say he's won the job.
Yeah, you can't give him the job, but you can let him win the job and then let him go forward.
By not drafting anybody or bringing anybody in this year.
Or even if you do draft somebody like Mahomes who's not ready or something.
Or something where you just draft someone in the 4th, 5th round.
Yeah.
4th, 5th, 6th round, say, oh, this is a guy, and you're expecting him not to beat Tom Savage.
I think that's the wrong way to do it in that case. But I definitely think that you can have an open competition. No matter what the Texans do, even if they're the first team to draft a quarterback and they really love Watson, they get Watson. They still need to go into it with an open competition. Not a Jared Goff, you're sitting your ass on the bench.
Yeah.
But they need to go in there and say, hey, win your job, kid.
No, I have a feeling that you either have two things. You're either going to take a quarterback in the first round or you're going to take whatever you can get down late and then say, well, let's hope we get a quarterback next year, because I have a feeling that in the second round, we're just going to see a run of quarterbacks go.
I
agree. Just going to be the beginning of day 2 is just going to be a mad scramble for quarterbacks.
Especially if someone slips late into the first round.
Or in the second round. And the Browns could be the team to start it all. Them or the Niners could be the one to start it all on that day 2. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below. Texan fans, I want to hear from you. Let us know down below. Who do you think will be the starter for the Texans day 1? Who should the Texans try to go for as their quarterback next year? Also want to thank you guys for checking out the podcast. This is it for the Onside Kick this week. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm Ricky Widmer. I almost called you Sean. Mark is at the with 2 E's. Mark Weber, Most Valuable Podcast, is at Most Valuable Pod. Also, if you loved the podcast today, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. go ahead, check out patreon.com/most valuable podcast. Just a way for you guys to support the podcast a little bit differently. Helps us get some things like the clip-on mics, like the green screen that you guys are seeing. All of that is because of our help from our patrons and help from guys like you, girls like you that watch our videos each and every day. I want to thank you guys one more time for checking us out. And as always, have a good day, everybody. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that segment from the onside kick. If you think the fun stops there, you're wrong, because click the video right over here. What are you thinking? Come on. Click it. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. Bye, everybody.